Hi! Today I'm gonna be recording a video of the eating disorder symptoms that people don't normally talk about, and these are pertaining to mostly anorexia and bulimia because I don't really have expertise in anything else. I suffer from anorexia, bulimia, and orthorexia, so I'm just going to be talking about my own experience during recovery and the symptoms that I experience and that I know a lot of people also experience but don't normally have the will to share them with people because some of them are a little embarrassing, or so you would consider, because you don't know that people also go through this and you're not the only one. So I'm just going to share a few of the symptoms that I experienced. Sometimes I still experience some of them, but not as much anymore because it's been a few months now. Is this focused? Whatever. So one of the main ones, one of the biggest ones, at least for me, night sweats and hot flashes. I swear I did my research, I did everything. I was like, why is this happening to me? What am I going through? I wasn't getting my period. I was so confused. I was still so convinced I was going through menopause. I was like, okay, like I'm having night sweats. I wake up like so sweaty and like I just want to shower. I would either be just freezing all day or having terrible hot flashes, especially at night. Night sweats were the absolute worst, but that's a huge one. I thought I was the only one until I started talking to people about it, and apparently a lot of people get this. But before I was just like, okay, am I going through menopause? I actually considered it a few times, and I talked to my nurse practitioner. I was like, there's something wrong with me, like I'm going through menopause, and she just like laughed at me and said like, no, like this is a regular symptom. So that's a huge one that a lot of people don't talk about. Another one that's a little embarrassing that people don't talk about much is you go through a lot of bloating, you go through a lot of gases and constipation, and like even though you're eating tons of calories, it gives you the most uncomfortable feelings. Like you're bloated 24/7, you're constipated. Your doctor sometimes even prescribes you like natural laxatives, which is not actually called laxative. It's like a bowel movement kind of thing. If your doctor prescribes, you cannot take laxatives on your own. It gets really bad at some point. You get really gassy as well because obviously like everything's working up again and like your body's taking time to like process the fact that you're actually feeding it again. So it's not really adjusted to this whole food in your system thing. So it takes a while of you being super bloated, super constipated, and super gassy. And it's pretty embarrassing, to be completely honest. But it does happen, and it doesn't only happen to some people. It does happen to most people that are going through recovery. So it's a normal thing, guys. It's very normal, just so you guys know and don't feel embarrassed about it. Another one is you get extremely tired. So people say you get tired during your eating disorder, and that's true. Like I had no energy whatsoever for years when I was in my eating disorder. I was like, I can't do anything. I had no energy and no will. Like I just did not want to do anything, and I couldn't do anything. I had no strength, I had nothing. But when you're in recovery, like your body is so exhausted from all the work that it's doing inside, like from all the energy that it's taking up to rebuild your bones and like your organs and all these things, that it just tells you to sit down, take naps, sleep 10 hours a night. Like it just, your body is extremely exhausted by doing inside work that it doesn't really feel like doing anything else. And in the treatment center that I was in, we weren't really allowed to do much exercise. It is one of the few that allows you to do exercises, but they do like have their own classes and everything, so it's monitored and stuff. Even during those classes, I was exhausted. I was like, I am so weak and I'm gaining weight. I don't get it. Like, why do people think recovery is great and say that you're gonna gain energy when I feel less energetic? Well, that actually doesn't really last much. It only lasts until your body starts like getting the hang of this new food that you're putting in your system. Once your body starts getting used to you being at your regular weight and your bones start getting better and your organs start getting better, that's when you start feeling energetic again. But it's so normal to start feeling extremely tired when you're recently starting recovery. Another big one is actually extreme hunger. For me, it didn't necessarily happen that fast. At the center that I was in, they upped my meal plan to a very, I'm not gonna mention numbers, I don't like talking about numbers, but to a very high calorie count. It would be at least 4 times the amount that a normal person would eat on a regular day. It's 4 times the amount that I eat now. That was so I could gain weight really fast. So obviously I used to eat like no calories beforehand, and if I did, I would purge them. So nausea would be a terrible one. Like my acid reflux became terrible. I had to take acid reflux medicines, and like every time I would eat, I would just feel it coming up immediately. So that was a huge one, like acid reflux, nausea, and everything like that. After that, once I got used to the food a little bit, and either I started gaining weight, because I didn't start getting hunger cues until 2.5 months into my treatment center. I was in residential. 2.5 months later, I was starting to feel some hunger cues, which doesn't usually happen. It usually happens for people like a little bit earlier, but my metabolic system like took a long time to get used to it and to start gaining weight. So I didn't start gaining weight really fast, so I couldn't start getting hungry really fast. Like I still had terrible acid reflux and nausea, unlike a lot of other people. But once you start getting used to it, I was still in a very high caloric daily consumption. Once I started gaining weight and I was getting to the weight that I was supposed to be at, which is my regular weight, and by regular weight I mean they straight up like look not just at your height, not just at your age like the internet does. Like they look at your blood, at your hormones, they look at absolutely everything to be able to identify what your natural weight is and what your natural caloric content should be throughout the day. Obviously around, it's not like a certain amount of calories that you have to consume, it's just an estimate of what you should normally be consuming. But anyways, I'm sidetracked here. So once I started getting more to my natural weight, they started lowering my caloric content. That's when I started getting really hungry. I got so used to food being in me that the less that I ate, the hungrier I would get. So it made it a lot easier for me to eat. So at that moment, it felt like the worst thing ever. But looking back, it was actually one of the best things that could happen, because when I compare it to when I used to be super nauseous and then acid reflux was terrible, I would much rather be hungry and eating that amount of calories than be having like the extreme nausea and acid reflux while eating that amount of calories. And obviously the very obvious symptom of recovery, and by symptom I mean it just happens, it's not meaning anything bad, it just means it happens while in recovery. Gain weight. But the thing that people don't usually talk about is that you start gaining weight around your stomach and around your hips and stuff like that. And people don't usually talk about these things, but they do happen. When you recently start getting into recovery, that's why it becomes so freaking hard. And even worse at the middle of it, because you start not only gaining weight, but you start gaining weight around this area, which is where you notice it the most. So let's say like my arms, like they stayed super skinny like throughout the first few months that I started gaining weight. My legs stayed super skinny throughout the first few months that I started gaining weight, until my body started getting used to the food and started, like I said earlier, like spreading all over my body. Because at first, like it was just doing its thing. It was just feeding my bones. It was just feeding my organs. So it was just staying around here. But after a few months of it getting used to it, it started spreading all over my body. My arms got a little bit more normal, and then my legs got a little bit more normal. So now I'm like portioned, I guess you could say. But at the beginning, you definitely start gaining weight around here, which makes it so much harder. Like you feel like your belly's about to explode, and just like you feel so uncomfortable. But it's normal, and I want you to know, like whomever is watching this, whether you have an eating disorder, whether you're in recovery, whether you have someone who's had an eating disorder, whatever your case is, I want you to know that it's normal to gain weight first here. Like you're gonna feel absolutely terrible about it. Trust me. I'm not gonna lie to you and sit here saying that you're gonna feel great. No, recovery is gonna feel like hell. You're gonna get even more depressed sometimes. It's gonna hit you even harder. Like it did to me. I got even worse. Like my worst point was when I started recovery, because I was not used to it. I was going through the gain weight. I was going through all the symptoms. I was going through all the mental health. I was like picking every single side of my brain. That like recovery was just hell. So recovery is not fun in the beginning. It becomes nice afterwards once you start getting used to it and once you start creating a life out of it, because you start realizing that it's worth it. But in the beginning you feel like it's not. In the beginning you feel like you just want to go back to your eating disorder. You just want to go back to it because you didn't feel as tired. Like you did feel tired, but you didn't feel as tired because you weren't as bloated, you weren't as constipated. You were obviously constipated, but you get even more constipated, or at least I and a few other people did. Once you start recovery, you don't get as nauseous, and like the symptoms are just so terrible that it really does make you want to go back. but trust me, they go away. They definitely do go away. I have none of the symptoms now. Maybe nausea every once in a while, but that's not even because of that. That's just because of my antidepressants that I take. It just, motion sickness is one of the side effects, so my nausea gets really bad every once in a while. But I just wanted to talk about the symptoms that eating disorder recovery sometimes, most of the times, gives to you, because I feel like not a lot of people talk about them, and I feel like there should be even more research about them in the internet. Obviously, I'm not a professional. I'm just someone who's experienced it, so I'm just talking about my side of things, about my experience with recovering from anorexia, bulimia, and orthorexia. So don't fully trust me on this. I'm just talking from experience and from what I've heard of other people. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you share it with your loved ones and people that you know might be struggling with eating disorders, or people that you know might have someone who's struggling with eating disorders, because I think this is such an important thing for people to know, because no one tells you about these things. No one ever tells you you're about to go to recovery and all these things are going to happen and you're going to feel terrible about that. No one tells you. So having people know about them beforehand is the best thing you can do for them. So thank you for watching this. Please like this video, subscribe, click the little bell button to get notified. I usually do either sit down videos, or I started doing vlogs not too long ago, so whatever it is that I do a lot of random things. I don't really have like a specific thing on my channel, so I hope you're enjoying this. I'm honestly doing this not just for myself because I really enjoy this, but for the people that could somehow get to watch this, because I think it's really important for all of you out there. Even if you don't have any sort of mental illness, it's really important to know these things. So thank you for watching. Bye.